You've been comforting people wrong your whole life, and no one ever told you. When someone you love is hurting, you tell them to stay positive. Look on the bright side. Everything happens for a reason. You believe you're helping. But what if those exact words, the kindest words you know, are quietly making it harder for them to heal and leaving them more alone than before you spoke? And here's the question that should stop you cold. If comfort isn't what heals people, then what is? There's an answer. Something more healing than positivity, that costs nothing, that most of us were never taught. It's not harder than staying positive. It's easier. We just had it backwards. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the science of why stay positive backfires on them and on you, and the one shift that turns you from someone who accidentally deepens the pain into someone who can actually help carry it. And it begins with a fact that sounds backwards until you see the proof. The urge to brighten someone's pain usually isn't about them at all. It's about us. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let me show you. Start with what stay positive actually asks of a person. It asks them to do something psychologists call expressive suppression, to push the real feeling down and put a more acceptable one on their face. And we have decades of research, much of it from Stanford's emotion labs, on what that does. It does not shrink the feeling. The sadness doesn't get smaller. It goes underground. And underground, it grows more intense, not less. You ask them to feel better. Their body did the exact opposite. But that's only half of it. Because here's the part that genuinely surprised the researchers, and it's the key to this whole thing. When someone suppresses a real emotion in front of you, their stress climbs, like you'd expect. But so does yours. Sitting across from a person wearing a forced smile, your own blood pressure rises. Their suppression isn't read by your body as comfort. It's read as a threat. Now sit with what that means, because it flips the entire picture. When we tell someone to stay positive, we are very often not soothing them. We're soothing ourselves. Their raw pain makes us uncomfortable. It sets off our own nervous system. And look on the bright side is the fastest way to make that discomfort, our discomfort, go away. The cheerful thing we say to fix them is usually a quiet attempt to fix the feeling rising in us. That's not a character flaw. It's a reflex. But it's a reflex worth catching because of what it quietly builds. It builds the cage. A space where the suffering person now has to manage our comfort on top of their own pain, where they sense, correctly, that their real feeling is unwelcome, so they tuck it away and hand us the smile we need. From the outside, they look fine. Inside, they're holding the whole weight alone, in a brighter, lonelier room than before. And here's what almost no one realizes. That cage doesn't just isolate them. It actively makes the pain worse. Let me show you how. There's a distinction worth knowing, borrowed from a therapy approach called ACT, and once you have it, you'll see it everywhere. It splits pain into two kinds. There's clean pain, the natural, honest ache of the wound itself, the grief of a loss, the sting of a failure. Clean pain hurts, but it's clean. It moves through you if you let it. And then there's dirty pain, all the extra suffering we pile on top when we fight the clean pain. The shame about being sad, the anxiety about being anxious, the exhaustion of performing fine. Here's what Stay Positive does in one line. It takes a person's clean pain, which was survivable, and adds a thick layer of dirty pain on top. Now they're not just grieving. They're grieving and feeling they're failing at grief. You doubled the load while trying to lighten it. That's the cage, fully built. So the real question becomes, if brightening it makes it worse, what actually helps? It's almost the exact opposite of what we reach for. And the relief is, it's smaller and easier than fixing anything. A landmark study followed people who simply accept their hard feelings, who let a bad feeling be there without judging it, the way you'd watch a passing cloud. Not wallowing in it, not fighting it, just letting it pass through. Over months, those people showed lower depression, lower anxiety, and more resilience. And here's the beautiful part. Accepting the negative feelings didn't dim their positive ones at all. The clouds passed, and the sky was still there. Which means the most helpful thing you can offer someone isn't a brighter feeling. It's permission to have the real one. You stop trying to fix the pain and start simply being a witness to it. It sounds like that sounds really hard. It makes sense that you feel this way. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to cheer up for me. You're not fixing them. You're unlocking the cage, telling them the feeling is allowed and they don't have to carry it alone or perform anything for your sake. And this is where hope comes back in, honestly, this time. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the concentration camps, called it tragic optimism, the ability to hold two things at once. This is genuinely painful, and I can still find meaning and go on. That's not look on the bright side. It's bigger and it's braver. It lets the dark be dark and still reaches for the light, without forcing anyone to pretend the dark isn't there. So the next time someone you love is hurting, you don't have to find the bright side for them. You don't have to fix it. You just have to not look away and let the feeling be real. That's not the cage. That's the open door. You were never unkind. None of us were. We were all just handed the same cheerful script. And now you can see the cage it builds and choose something else. Now I want to hear from you because every single person watching has been on both sides of this. So tell me honestly in the comments, what's the worst thing someone said to you when you were struggling? The stay positive that made it worse? And what's the one thing someone said that actually helped? Be specific. Someone scrolling these comments right now needs the exact words you're about to write.